In this video, we will go over how to do background and context research for a script using primary and secondary sources. First, I want to cover what the difference between primary and secondary sources is. A primary source is the raw material from the historical moment. It includes the original documents and objects which were created at the time under study. Note that these documents reflect the individual viewpoint of a participant or observer or whoever was recording it or being recorded, and they should be read and analyzed with that perspective at the front of our minds today. For example, a newspaper review of a drama production or an interview with the playwright is a primary source. If we were studying Maria Irina Fornes, we might want to look at how her work was critically reviewed over the course of her career. Or we might want to see if she did any interviews with magazines or newspapers. For this, the easiest place to start is with the main search box on the library homepage. This is our discovery interface, which searches across library content across different databases. I'll start by searching the playwright's name. To narrow down to some of the primary source content, I'll choose to limit content type on the left to newspapers, magazines, and journal articles. Not all of this content is going to be primary source content, but it's a good way to dig up some of it. I'm also going to limit on the left-hand side the date of content published to before 1990 because I want to get a sense of her reception when she was at the height of her production in her career. Immediately, this helps zero in on the content that's most useful and meaningful to me. If I want to look at any of these results, I just click the full text online link. Remember that when I'm approaching a primary source document, I need to read and think critically, paying attention to the time period, the interviewer, the publisher, the tone, the audience of the publication, and the medium of the interview, and how that all affects the exchange and the sound bites, and any historical or racial or gendered biases that emerge. So here I have a first-person interview with Fornes that was conducted by Bonnie Maranka at the Performing Arts Journal. A quick Google search of the interviewer and the publication tell me that this is a major reputable journal within the theater and drama industry, and that Bonnie Maranka is a female editor there. I can also see that this exchange took place in 1977, which is over 40 years ago. So when I read this article, I need to be conscious of how all of those factors influence the resulting text and the resulting exchange. In contrast to a primary source, which is an original document from the time period, a secondary source shares accounts or interpretations of events created by someone without firsthand experience. So where with primary sources, it was important to analyze the text with attention to how the subject was situated in their time period and their place. With secondary sources, it's important that we use information and sources that are credible and authoritative. For this, using vetted library sources rather than just open searching and trusting whatever Google comes up with is a good strategy. I'll start again from the library homepage and use this main search box to start some contextual research on the playwright Susan Laurie Parks. I'll type her name and hit enter. On the left-hand side, some filters that are really important are these peer review and scholarly or peer review limits. So these filters limit your search to look only across peer-reviewed publications, which are credible publications where articles are vetted by experts in the industry. They're often aligned with professional or well-established organizations or universities that have a demonstrated history or rigorous process for producing solid, trustworthy content. So when I click this limiter, I see immediately that my results come from really solid academic journals like Comparative Drama, Journal of Black Studies, and Callaloo. If you're unsure about the publication, you can just do a quick journal search, even on Google, to understand more about the publisher to help you evaluate whether or not the content there is solid. For example, if I do a search for Callaloo Journal, I can read that it's the premier journal for literature, art, and culture of the African diaspora. I can see that it's published by Johns Hopkins University Press, which is a good sign because being associated with a university, especially a major one like Johns Hopkins, is a good way to test credibility. And there are publication ethics listed that explicitly discuss their peer review process. So these are some signs that you can use to not only evaluate the authority of the journal, but also get an understanding of the perspective and audience of the journal. Reading articles like this on the playwright or on the play really help build an argument and develop a more critical, substantiated understanding of a script. One final element of context research that's also important to use authoritative resources for is background research on time periods, locations, or historical events featured in the plot, on playwrights and their careers or backstories, and lots of other elements that you're studying or looking into during research. A great resource we have available for this is called Credo Research. It's like Wikipedia in that it's really easy to use and it has reference articles, but unlike Wikipedia, it only shares trustworthy, credible content produced by experts in the field. To get to Credo from the library homepage, again, you click e-resources in that top menu or databases under the main search box, then hit C in the alpha listings or search for Credo directly. As an example, if I am reading a play where the plot centers around apartheid, this is a great place to really dig into the social and cultural history of that world event. I'll start with a general search, and I'll see lots of options for articles on apartheid. One thing to pay attention to here is what encyclopedia the article is coming from, because that will indicate how the article approaches the topic. If I click this first entry from the Cultural Sociology of the Middle East, Asia, and Africa, I see that this contextualizes apartheid into the history from 1900 to the present, which is probably a good way for me to understand some of the longer range beginnings of the ideologies and political framework around the time. If I go back into my results list, I see that the second entry is from the title Key Concepts in Post-Colonial Literature, which means that it may discuss much more specifically how apartheid influenced and was represented in literature, including drama. So that could be a really useful context to use. If I scroll down further, I see lots more perspectives from various encyclopedias and also, helpfully, an article that specifically speaks to anti-apartheid theater in South Africa. When you find an article that's really useful for your research, I suggest clicking this citation button up here and saving that info wherever you're compiling your notes or research. It includes a link that will take you back to this page in the future should you want to look back on a paragraph or pull a specific quote. And it also has the citation ready for you. So if your professor requests that you post a full works cited page, you'll have that ready to go. If you click on the print option, which is sometimes hidden in a hamburger menu if your browser window is tighter, you can also choose download as PDF, and the whole article will download into a PDF for you, complete with citations. A few other nice features in Credo to point out. There are related topics along the side of articles for further reading and exploration. And if I go back to my results page, you'll see this large concept map. Here I can click between different topics to explore related ideas and read articles in greater depth to round out my understanding of a historical or sociopolitical context.